Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality. So hit the subscribe button and the bell icon right now. So I was led to believe, like I think a lot of us are led to believe, that in a healthy relationship, you don't have conflicts, you don't have problems, you don't have arguments, and everything's meant to be all sweet, innocent roses and moonlit walks and everything's meant to go perfectly well. Well, in reality, that isn't actually the case. As I've discovered in my own dating and relationship, educational experience and knowledge gaining and skill gaining over the years, I have come to discover that actually healthy relationships have to have an ability to deal with conflicts and problems and difficulties and hurt feelings in a healthy way to resolve issues. So instead of burying your feelings, repressing them, suppressing them, not saying something to the other person about any hurt they caused you or pain, whether that's by mistake or on purpose, you know, you have to be able to share your thoughts, feelings, and emotions openly and vulnerably with that person. Now, obviously, we're talking about how to deal with hurt feelings in a healthy relationship. If you have got a healthy relationship, you should be able to discuss anything and everything with your partner. And they should provide a safe space for you to do that, in which to be yourself and to bring up the hurt feelings and what's on your mind. If they're not providing a safe space for you and you're feeling like you can't tell them the truth, then something is wrong in that relationship. And then you need to address that. If you don't feel you can tell your partner things that are difficult for you, then it's not a good thing. So successful, healthy relationships are based on really good conflict resolutions, really good problem solving, and working together as a team while still allowing the other person to express themselves in a way that's healthy for both people. And also, there should be apologies happening, and there should be, you know, behavioral change, all these type of things. So I know that's a lot to unpack that I've just given you. But first of all, we have to look between healthy and unhealthy relationships. Like in unhealthy, abusive relationships, you'll feel like you can't talk to the other person. You'll feel like you have to suppress and repress your emotions for fear of if they punish you verbally, physically, mentally, or emotionally, even sexually. And you won't be able to tell them. You might feel that they go into a rage, they might hit you, they might lash out at you, and they might fly off the handle, and you really cannot talk to them. And so if you are in a situation where you're actually in an abusive relationship where you can't talk to the other person and it could lead to physical, mental, or emotional abuse, then obviously this advice is not going to work with someone who is a manipulator, a controller, an abuser, and who does not provide a safe space for you to share your feelings, thoughts, emotions. And therefore repression and suppression is not what you want in your life. But I understand if that's the situation you're in. Obviously, if this is a situation you're in, then I would highly recommend that you get in touch with a support unit, the Samaritans, or some counseling service or some help to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. There is no point in staying in an abusive relationship, no matter how much you love the person, because love does not stop abuse, unfortunately. In terms of if you love them, there's toxic love and there's healthy love. Toxic love is when someone is controlling, manipulating, deception, lying, cheating, all these and more, right? And you don't want to be in a relationship with that type of person, right? I understand if you're financially tied to them, that can be really difficult. So go to like a refuge center or go and get some help. Call the police if you have to, because there are some serious abusers out there. And I don't want this to affect you, because I'm going to be discussing healthy things. You can't have a healthy relationship with someone who's not a healthy relationship type of person, right? So you must understand that I have been in abusive relationships in the past. And so I know what that's like. And you cannot feel safe usually talking about anything and everything with that person. In fact, you're more likely in fight or flight mode, on the edge of your seat all the time, not knowing whether they're going to be nice to you or horrible to you, unpredictable behavior. And it's really not good. Okay. So this is like unhealthy. You can see unhealthy how they work, right? Patterns of behavior. Anything you say will be used against you, usually. Anything you say will be like an attack on you. And so this is not good. In healthy relationships, we need to bring up things that hurt our feelings, that don't feel good. And we need to do it in a way that's best for both parties. So, for example, if you are feeling hurt about something that the person did, you need to address their behavior. So, we want to be talking about the behavior they've done, not having an attack on the actual individual. So you would say something like, when you did this, I felt this. When you did that or you said that, I felt this. So you're not attacking the person, you're saying the way that behavior made you feel. Now, in a healthy relationship, if someone loves you and genuinely cares about you, they will care about hurting your feelings. They will not want to hurt your feelings because their pain is your pain and vice versa. Like if I hurt someone, choose whether it's my romantic love of my life or whether it's a friend, I don't like it. I really don't like it. Because I don't want to cause someone pain. Sometimes we have to say things that may not be particularly pleasant, though, in terms of like if there's something that's not good for us that we need to explain to that person. And so therefore we can't be a people pleaser, just saying things to please the other person all the time. To not hurt them, we have to be able to say our truths as well, of things that aren't necessarily what they want to hear, right? Because we don't want to be telling our partner what they want to hear all the time, because that's a form of deception, which is a form of manipulation for personal gain, right? You have to understand this, right? You might think people pleasing is good, and I used to not understand that years ago, because if you've been brought up in certain environments and with caregivers in the past where you would like people please, you do something to please them all the time, even if it's at your own expense, even if it's not something you want to do, right? That is not good, because you are doing a form of deception, because you're doing something to specifically get a behavior from that person. Do you understand what I mean? You are acting and saying and doing things in order to get the response that they're likely to most give you, even if that's not your truth. So this is a form of deception, which is a form of manipulation for personal gain. And people pleasing is actually one of those, which I didn't really realize until my last years of education into relationships in general, not just romantic relationships, but in friendships. I wasn't really aware of how much people pleasing is actually a form of deception and manipulation. And people are not really being honest, because they're not being their true, authentic self, because they're worried about what the other person thinks, feels, and says. This doesn't mean to say you go being an asshole and that you don't do anything to please the other person. That's not what I'm talking about, right? In a healthy relationship, you should be wanting to make the other person happy as much as possible, but not at your own expense, right? You should be wanting to make that person as happy as they can be the majority of the time, right? But you want to be doing stuff that is not you, that you don't resent them for, that you're happy to do, that you love doing for them, you want to do, not because society dictates it, but because you truly want to be that person, do that thing, and be with that person in that way. So it's very important that you do things that you want to do, that you love to do. And if you do truly love the person, you naturally want to make them happy anyway. That's not the same as just people pleasing, where you're just saying things all the time just to keep the peace, right? If someone's saying stuff to you just to keep the peace all the time, then something is actually a bit wrong, right? So if you do have some conflicts or some difficulties or disagreements or differences of opinion, right, you have to solve that in a healthy way. It does help if the other person apologizes if they've hurt your feelings, whether that's intentionally hurt, which I hope it's not, because that would be more on the abuse side, or whether it's unintentionally hurt, right? But sometimes people can do things they may not think is intentional, but their subconscious mind, they're doing it intentionally to get a result. So they've got, is that person you're with consciously aware of themselves? Are they consciously aware of their own thoughts, feelings, actions, and behaviors? right? So I analyze my own behavior of why I do certain things. I'm in a beautiful relationship now. There's a healthy one, but this my love of my life did say something that did hurt my feelings. And it's all resolved now, but I wanted to share this because we all make mistakes. I'm sure I'm gonna, if I haven't already made mistakes, there's things that I'm not perfect in the relationship, like I am loud, bubbly, and talkative anyway, but sometimes when I'm saying something about my past that isn't such a good thing, I tend to get a bit loud and it can seem like I'm shouting a little bit. So I've got to be aware of that behavior. I have to say sorry to them, and then I have to try and be aware, hopefully, to calm that down, because that's my behavior that I need to improve upon and need to watch out for, because I want to make sure that they feel safe around me and they feel calm around me. I think, part of it's to do with the fact I am loud anyway, because, I'm generally loud anyway. But I think, like, I have to watch that behavior and I have to make improvements to that. I have to kind of work on that. And so, yeah, it's very important that both people are aware of their own behavior. And anyway, they said a particular thing that really did hurt. It's got nothing to do with my asexuality for a start, and they really did hurt my feelings. And um what happens is people can tend to think that when you say sorry, because he's really good, he's very good, my other half, my darling, he's very good at conflict resolution, problem solving. So I know he's a good guy for me to be in a healthy relationship, because he's very focused on solving problems quickly, solving difficulties quickly, solving quick conflicts quickly, solving anything, any hurt feelings that I have. He's very good at solving them as soon as possible. However, when you have a problem and difficulties and hurt feelings, you do sometimes, depending on the situation, what it is, you do sometimes have different stages that you're going through of upset. You can't just get over. So I mean, if a guy says just get over it, he's not a good guy. He didn't say this, luckily, to me. He didn't. But there are some guys that just get over it. That's diminishing your feelings and not good, right? That's not healthy, right? So, but I think there was an expectation that as soon as he said sorry, I would just like get over that thing. But that's not how it works when your feelings are hurt, right? You have stages. The first stage, it depends what it is. Sometimes it can just be a little thing. Sometimes it can be something that's more emotionally painful. So then you have to like assess, like, you first of all have to assess what it is that they've done. Obviously, if it's a really major thing, like they've had sex with someone else, had an affair with someone else, emotionally cheated with someone else, all these type of things, then I'd probably advise leaving them. But if they have done something like in everyday life that's just not been good, it's hurt your feelings a bit, then obviously it's something that you can usually overcome, because there's no betrayal with another person involved. Do you know what I mean? And so you have to go through different stages, like depending on what it is and how deep the hurt is. And so you would go through the first stage is obviously probably shock, because if the person's, you have to assess the situation. So you have to ask yourself, is this thing that they've said that's hurt your feelings, is it out of character for them? Is it normal for them? And how have they been in other aspects of their life when they're talking to you and being with you? Right? You've got to assess this thing in the context of your life with them and what they've been saying to you and what they've been doing with you. Do you know what I mean? So it's very important that you assess the holistic person, that everything. Like, overall, is this person good to you? Are they kind to you? Are they caring towards you? And is this thing that's hurt your feelings, is it something you can actually get over and overcome? Because if you can't, then that's a red flag for not being able to stay in the relationship. Now, it doesn't mean to say you can't, but it depends what it is. Because if something cuts so deep, then it's hard to get over it. And then, you always like be thinking about it. So it's really important that the other person is able, as much as possible, to explain why they did the behavior they did, to talk about your feelings and emotions with you and the hurt that it's caused you, and to have open, honest communication about this thing until it's resolved satisfactorily. That's what you're really looking for, because only then can you move on to feeling better and being okay with the situation and thinking, okay, especially you need to see a behavioral change though. If this person continuously does this type of thing, you can't stay with them, right? Because you can't stay with someone who's hurting you. And if someone knows that their behavior is hurting you, then they need to do something about it, right? So depending on what it is, there can be different stages. Something could be just like something you could more easily overcome, and other times there's more stages. Like one is usually the shock, especially if it's out of character for them. Like you're thinking, do I still know them? Do I really know who they are? It can make you doubt and question the person you're with if they've done something out of character to what they would usually be like with you. So you do have to assess that, park it, and think, okay, I have to look at the rest of their behavior from now on and see if which one they're really like. Are they like the person I always thought they were, or are they like this? You know what I mean? And then you need to understand why they said what they did or did what they did. What's the reasoning behind it? What's the explanation behind it? Even if it might be something you don't really want to hear, it's better to understand it, because when you understand something, you can more easily resolve it or move on because you've got this logic to it. Do you know what I mean? If you've got something going on and it's illogical, then it can make your mind like feel even worse. Like, I don't understand. There's no logic to it. If there's some sort of logic to it and some reasoning, and it's kind of like acceptable to you, then you're more likely to be able to get through the pain and upset and move on with this person. Right. So you need to work together as a team to resolve this difficulty, this hurt, and this pain. And although the person might not like seeing you in pain and might not like seeing you upset, if they actually care and love you, they'll want to allow you to go through those emotions and, keep talking about it until it's resolved, right? Sometimes more than one apologies, needed. Like some people will be like, I've apologized to you once, but that's not the point. You shouldn't be having someone who go, oh, I've already apologized to you once. It's not the point, because that diminishes your feelings. The whole point is they've upset you. Obviously, you can't continue on and on, month after month, resenting them or holding something against them. That doesn't work. And obviously, you can't be in a relationship if that's the case, because it's never gonna work. But you do have to, like, you probably, what I'm going to say is you do have to like still assess the future behavior, because you have to look for permanent behavioral change, not just like, I'm sorry and then I'm okay for 2 months and then I hurt your feelings again. You know what I mean? It's if it's the same thing that they're doing. So you have to, like, even if you forgive, you still have to assess their future behavior, and make sure that it's still okay, because if something's out of the blue and it's something you're not used to, then is it going to happen again? Because if you're not used to it, you didn't see it coming, then could it repeat itself? Because patterns of behavior tend to repeat themselves unless they're stopped and changed and converted and moved to a different type of place, if you know what I mean, moved to being in a better place. If someone's done something that's not good, then they shouldn't be repeating that thing, is what I'm trying to say. But you can't tell that in the moment, because you can't tell in the future. So even if you forgive them now, you still don't know what they're going to do in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, 5 months' time. Do you know what I mean? Only time will tell. That's the only difficulty when you've got problems and difficulties, is that you still have, because you love yourself, right? You still have to protect yourself and your own heart, and you have to be able to see, is this something they change permanently, or is it going to revert back and you're going to get hurt again? So you have to, like, give them a benefit of the doubt. You have to trust that it's not going to happen again and move forward together, but you're still going to be kind of thinking, you're still going to be safeguarding your heart and your feelings. You're still going to be like, you know, carefully considering if this does happen again, because you don't want the person to blur your reality, and make you think it's not going to happen again if they are going to do it again. You have to be realistic and say, okay, this has happened. They've said sorry, and go through the stages of the hurt, and then you need to try and forgive them and then move on. But that doesn't mean to say that they're infallible and they can't do that thing again. you have to hope that they don't, right? And so, we have to assess all this stuff. But, different stages of upset and hurt. First you can be in shock, then you're kind of might be really angry. And when you're angry, it's best to say that I'm really angry right now, right? I mean, don't start shouting. I mean, I have loud voice, which sounds like I'm shouting sometimes, but actually I know what my shouting's like, and that's not actually my shouting. Um, but yeah, so anyway, you have to ideally, I'm not perfect, so I still have work to do on that. So yeah, ideally you want to be saying to the person that I'm angry, but you can still express anger like in your tone of voice. It's like, don't try not to start shouting and stuff like that. I do know even in healthy relationships, sometimes people can start shouting a bit, but then they have to calm down very quickly and lower their tone. You don't want someone who's having a go at you and making you feel scared. If it gets to that stage, there's a serious issue, right? So, make sure that you are saying if you feel angry, you can feel angry in your tone of voice, but you can't lash out. You don't want to be getting like, you don't want to be having fights or anything like that. That's not healthy. In healthy relationships, you'll be saying that I feel really angry right now. I feel disappointed. I feel hurt. So you express it as I feel this. I feel this. I think this. I'm hurting now because of this. So you need to express how you're feeling rather than get really angry. Say you feel angry. Negative emotions are still fine to have as long as they're expressed in the right way, like pain and misery and grief and upset. All these have to be processed. The thing is people who are not in healthy relationships, they don't allow for processing of emotions. And then you end up not feeling safe around the person. You end up not being able to be totally honest with them. Or if you are honest, you worry about your life and stuff. It's not good. So make sure that just because the person might have said sorry doesn't mean to say you have to forgive them there and then. And it doesn't mean to say you're going to be able to. And it doesn't mean to say that, you're not still going to be hurting, right? So you have to allow yourself time to take the shock in, to deal with the anger, to feel like sadness probably is the next one, and then to feel like maybe underconfident. You might feel underconfident. Your self-esteem might go a bit, and you might feel really depressed or something. And then, but you have to like still understand the situation, because if you don't understand it, neither of you understand what happened, you're not going to be able to rectify it together, right? And so if the other person's really like explaining and it's a very good logical explanation, or it's a very like believable, that's easier then to move on and understand, yeah, it's not good. They hurt your feelings. They made a mistake, but by talking to it through with you and giving you the time and space to do that with them as well as on your own, then it's going to be a much better, healthier relationship and outcome, and you're going to be able to move on and kind of forget what happened a lot more, because it's resolved, and keep talking about it till it is resolved. One of the biggest problems I see is people expect people to just forgive someone as soon as they've said sorry, and it doesn't work like that. Right? I mean, you can't hold grudges forever and a day, because that's unhealthy as well. You can't keep bringing resentments up and bringing things up, but you still have to give yourself time to go through the stages of the hurt and the pain. Otherwise, it's going to be no good. It's going to linger for longer, right? So make sure you do that and give yourself time. It's like grief, when you have grief, you go through stages. And sometimes some hurts can be like grief, because you're grieving for something in the past that's no longer the same anymore, because the hurt that they said to you has altered that, if you know what I mean. So you've got to be very aware that whatever you do in relationships can affect not just your present, but your future with that person. It can change the dynamic with that person as well. So, I feel like I can forgive this person a lot more than any past stuff I've ever done, because I think they're very good at explaining themselves. They're very good at conflict resolution. They really do genuinely care and love me. And I think you have to look at the bigger picture. Like, is this person really good overall? Are they kind and caring? Are they loving? Are they giving? Are they thoughtful? Are they appreciative? And if there's something that's not, not feeling right about those things, then it's good to say something like, when you do this, I feel appreciated. When you say this, I blah, blah, blah. What would help me is if in the future you did da, da, da. It's good to have a plan of action. So if the hurt was, if the hurt was resolved, but you've not got a plan of action, and it's something that needs a plan of action, then it could happen again. So it's a good if you discuss what went wrong, what the difficulty was, and the plan of action you both have together for hopefully ensuring that thing doesn't happen again as a team, right? But in everyday relationships and everyday friendships, you do hurt each other sometimes. It's not nice. I don't like hurting people. I will, like, I will stick up for myself and block people that are no good for me. Don't get me wrong about that, right? I don't consider that hurting people. I consider that as loving myself. But in terms of like my friends and, the love of my life, I don't want to hurt any of them. But you still have to say how you feel about things, you know, in the best way possible without trying to hurt feelings. Because obviously sometimes you have to say something that might not be exactly what they want to hear, you know? So make sure that you look after your own heart and you love yourself. And a good thing to do if you have got hurt feelings is to take yourself out to help yourself to feel better. Because I did that the other day. You might have noticed on a Nando's shorts. I said I'm cheering myself up because I was really I was like thinking, "Oh, I can just move on from the hurt." And then the next day I was like really upset again because I hadn't fully processed it and I was feeling like I was expected to just move on from it when I couldn't, because my own feelings matter and they came up and I felt them and I can't ignore them. And you should never ignore them anyway. So when I explained that I need to process my feelings and it goes in stages, it was much better, and that I got a better explanation and everything was resolved a lot quicker. So the good thing about the person I'm with is he will literally make sure through videos or voice calls that I am, that I'm being helped to resolve any issues with him. And so therefore it really helps my anxiety. He's a really good guy for my anxiety in that way, because if he does say something that's not great, he tries to rectify the situation by talking through my feelings and emotions and by being on the phone or in video call with me until the actual the feelings have calmed down, so I'm feeling good again, right? So I really like that about him. So like I said, healthy relationships are based on good conflict resolution, problem solving, hurt solving, not avoiding these things. So if you got someone who doesn't care, then they won't care if they hurt your feelings, or they won't want to resolve the issue. They'll want to just shut you down, avoid talking about it, maybe go for a walk, slam the door and blame things on you, which is an unhealthy relationship. You don't want that. So you want a really kind, caring person that didn't mean to hurt you and they just want to resolve the issue with you. Right. So I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. I hope you can see the difference between unhealthy relationships and healthy relationships, and once you have a healthier relationship and healthy relationship, then you can see the difference and contrast between someone who's in an unhealthy relationship and someone who's in a healthy relationship. And just remember to look at the overall picture, because if you go on social media, for example, and start typing in your one problem, the one pain and hurt they caused you, and you start going in forums and stuff, it can actually be that they say just to leave that person, right? And it depends what it is. If they've had an affair, then I say leave them, right? But if it's something that can be sorted out, you need to ask yourself, like, overall, are they good to me? Is this just a one-off thing, right? And what is it? And what seriousness is it, right? And decide for yourself, because out of context, it could seem a lot worse. If this person has just said one thing that's hurtful, but if it was always repeated, that one thing, then they would be unhealthy person and they would be bad for you and you'd have to leave, right? But if it's just a one-off thing, then that can be resolved and it's just a mistake, and it's not a good mistake, but it's a mistake that's resolved, right? So if you go on forums and go in all these different places, but you ask someone, they might think that that behavior is consistent, in which case it's unhealthy and you've got to leave, right? So be very careful to use your own judgment. I know it's hard sometimes using our own judgment because, if we've been hurt in the past or in unhealthy relationships in the past, it can be hard to trust our own judgment. And if there's a lot of things that keep cropping up hurts, then, they do mount up like a mountain on top of each other, which can then make you question the relationship and put doubt in your mind about it because you're like, hang on a minute, they've made this hurt, they've caused this hurt, they're all different hurts, but they're still causing hurt, right? So, you've got to be careful of that and aware of your feelings and thoughts and emotions. And love can blind you as well. So be careful not to get blinded by love and be careful not to move on so quickly that you're actually gaslighting yourself and ignoring your own intuition and feelings and red flags, right? So you don't want to do that either. You want to like take the overall picture of how this person is with you, how they're behaving with you. Do they really care about resolving this issue? Are they really truly sorry? What's the behavior going forward? How are you going to get through this together? Are you allowed to feel your feelings of hurt and pain that they've caused you, or are they trying to block you and stop you doing that? Are they expecting you just to forgive you? Are they expecting you to just forgive them just like that? Or are they valuing your feelings and emotions, saying, hey, I hurt you. I know that you need time to recover from that pain, right? So you've got to understand, are they dismissing your feelings or allowing you to have them? Are they working through your feelings with you, or are they blocking and shutting you out and blaming you? Like there's different, types of qualities of people and healthy and unhealthy. So must assess these, right? But, sometimes we do hurt the ones we love, the ones we care about. And, if you're with someone forever in a forever relationship, you're going to have things that crop up that aren't so good, and you're going to have to deal with it effectively and in a loving and caring and kind way as much as possible, so make sure that if the person's hurt you, they do say sorry. If you're with somebody, can't even say sorry. I've been with a lot of guys in the past that can't even say sorry. It's a hopeless case because basically they're disrespecting you. They don't care about you. Right? So the person should be able to apologize with ease because they don't want to hurt your feelings in the first place. They should, the healthy guys or healthy people are able to apologize and change their behavior and really realize their mistake. Unhealthy people, unhealthy guys are ones that, it's such a chore to say sorry. It's so difficult to say sorry. Most of the time they don't even say sorry. And if they do, it's like you're squeezing tomato juice out of a carrot or something. It's impossible. It's like they really don't want to say sorry to you, and it's like, hang on a minute, you're just caring about your ego, you're not actually caring about me, which is really bad. So you need to make sure you find someone who is open to saying sorry and does say sorry to you, because if someone hurts your feelings, it's important to say sorry. The sorry is really important. If someone doesn't say sorry, it makes the whole thing worse, right? Really makes the thing worse. So they should be open to apologize. Then, like I said, they might have to apologize more than once as well, because sometimes you can continue hurting and maybe the conversation's moved on and you still feeling like, oh, more sorries. But then you have to have a cutoff point where you do have to, like, even the stages, you have to at some point say to yourself, okay, I'm either staying with this person and accepting their mistake and forgiving them and moving on, or I'm not and I don't want to be with them anymore. Or you discuss it, there is a middle ground where you can discuss it further, but they get to the point where it can be, make the relationship completely uncomfortable for you both. So open, honest communication at all times in the relationship is really, really important. Sharing how you feel, sharing your thoughts, sharing your emotions, and working through those as a team together is really important, because ignoring, suppressing, repressing, it honestly is just a recipe for disaster. Even if you think you've got over it now, 6 months down the line or even less than that is going to crop back up again. So, and it doesn't mean to say you're not going to still have problems later on. You might say you forgive them or want to forgive them, but you might still have difficulties because it depends on the degree of which it caused you emotional pain and hurt, right? So remember that no one's perfect. No relationship is ever perfect. No person in the relationship is ever perfect. Everyone's open to making mistakes. Everyone can make mistakes. Everyone probably will make mistakes. one person will probably hurt the other person at some point in time, even though they don't mean to, because you are two different individuals, two different human beings coming together. You're from different backgrounds and ethnicities and different lifestyles and different ways of being and doing things. And sometimes, you just when you're combining two different people from two completely different backgrounds and experiences, sometimes you won't necessarily match up on everything, and something you say that's normal for you to say might not match up with what the other person would consider as a good thing, right? You need to decide if you're able to accept that or not. So please take care in relationships. Love yourself first and foremost. Make sure you take care of your own heart, and make sure that the person, if they are hurting you, that it's like a one-off. It's not it's not continuous. They've changed the behavior. They say sorry. You work through things together, and you're allowed to have your emotions. You're allowed to grieve. If someone's hurt you, they have absolutely no right to then turn around and say, oh, well, you can't feel upset and pain and hurt because I've just said sorry to you. That's not a good person, right? They have to allow you your feelings. They have to validate your feelings and allow them to be, right? And allow you to process them with the person, and allow you to understand them and why they did the thing they did that caused the hurt in the first place. It's very important you understand why they did what they did, not just that they did that. If the person's like, oh, I don't know why, that's just going to make things harder. Most people know why they did a behavior because they have thoughts going through their mind at the time, or they'll just know themselves. But it's good if you can be with a consciously aware person who's aware of why they do something. That's much more helpful. Just like someone saying, I don't know why I did something, I really don't believe that much of the time. You know what I mean? It's like you're fully capable of walking, of breathing, of talking, of communicating, of doing anything and everything, yet you're telling me you don't know what you're doing. You don't know why you did it. That's just bad, you know? Luckily, the guy I'm with doesn't do that. He tells me why he does things. So it helps a lot. But always, love yourself first and foremost, and stay in, if it's a healthy relationship, stay with it. If it's not, then leave. Obviously, you don't want to stay with anyone that's not good for you, but understand that even in healthy relationships, people do cause the other person pain sometimes unintentionally, and unintentionally is the word to focus on. Did this person intentionally mean to hurt you? Did this person intentionally mean to do what they did? You have to assess that for yourself. Doesn't matter what they say, it's what you think. They can say whatever because they're the ones that hurt you, right? You have to pay attention to what they say and see if you trust them and see if you believe them. But at the end of the day, you have to believe that they're telling the truth, because it doesn't matter where they believe that they are. You need to believe it yourself, and give them another chance, another opportunity to still be with you and still love you and be together. But please look at the overall picture of the person. Like, are they kind? Are they caring? Are they loving? Are they giving? Are they sharing? Are they thinking about you a lot? Are they in active communication with you the majority of the time? Are they really thinking about you? Are they really loving you? Do you know what I mean? So assess the overall picture of the person and the life you have with them, and the feelings between each other, and the communication, and the things you like and don't like, and just talk to them and resolve as many issues and conflicts to as much as possible ongoingly. You've got to keep resolving them, because resentment will build up else, and it's not good. So please look after your own heart. Please love yourself first and foremost. Please make sure that you do the right thing by you, however much you love the other person. And don't forget to allow yourself to go through the stages of hurt and pain if someone has hurt your feelings, because you need to give yourself time to get through that thing and overcome it. Not because someone tells you to and dictates to you, it's not good, but because you truly can overcome it. If you can't, then you have to move on from the person, unfortunately. So just bear that in mind. If anyone's trying to help you to overcome the problem with them, then that's great, because they really want to work on the relationship. They don't want to lose you, and they love you, right? So please bear all this in mind. I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. If you have, please pop a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. I cover on this channel dating, relationships, confidence, self-love, self-care, and a whole host of other things. Of course, geared towards asexuality specifically, but all this information is relevant with whatever sexuality you are. And I hope you found it useful and helpful today. Lots of love. See you soon, and I'll be back. Lots of love. Bye.